Hey guys, welcome to Micah 5. Hold on a second. Start the day with a big glass of water. All right. Micah 5. Now, Micah 5 is a continuation of Micah 4. We read yesterday in Micah 4 the rain, the Lord's reign in Zion and what it all said. And it is very descriptive. The last verse, arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make your horn iron, and I will make your hooves bronze. You shall beat in pieces many peoples. I will consecrate their grain to the Lord, and their substance to the Lord of the whole earth. And very interesting that they were talking about this, because one can make a conclusion, is this referring to the army of the Lord? Because it kind of sounds like it. Now, who would be the daughter of Zion? My wife and I were talking last night. When you read about the daughter of Babylon, well, who would the daughter of Babylon be? So me and my wife had a daughter. She was a product of us. So if a daughter of Babylon, it's pretty easy, I guess, to assume that that would be somebody who was a product of Babylon. Well, who would the daughter of Zion be? Well, the product of Zion. I'm just kind of throwing an idea out here. So if these daughters of are products of these other nations, because Babylon is Babylon. Babylon isn't the daughter of Babylon. Daughter of Babylon will be somebody who was a part of Babylon or came out of Babylon, being like Babylon. Who would that be? There's only one nation we can identify like that. Well, okay, so now daughter of Zion. Who would daughter of Zion be? Well, somebody who was a product of that. So let's just say, just for discussion's sake, let's just say that because Israel spent 2 exiles with Babylon, and they brought all the stuff back with them, the gods and the worship, and they had a couple of Talmuds that they brought. Would that not make them a daughter of Babylon because they ended up becoming a product of Babylon, because that's where their worship and their way of thinking and their ideals all came from? Possibly. Maybe they are the daughter of Babylon. Just saying. Now, this takes us into another doctrine I've already discussed multiple times here, but I want to focus on daughter of Zion. Who has become a product of Zion? Because there's nobody else in this world that's would be a product of Israel, except for the Christian church. Because it is out of Israel that the Christian church was born. Who were the first people to start the church? The apostles. They were all Jews. Jesus, our Messiah, comes out of Israel. So it's not outside the realm of possibility to reasonably deduce daughter of would be a product of. This is something that was created from aspects of this, which would be us. We believe in their God. We love their law. A whole lot of aspects match. So now let's say that's the case. So now we look at this army he seems to be describing. Arise and thresh. Threshing is a violent act. Threshing wheat grain is a violent act. When they thresh, they lay it all out on the threshing floor. Nice big flat spot, usually stone. And they have a board, big thick board with a rope, and they hold onto the rope, put their foot on the board, and they just step forward, basically rocking back and forth, working their way in a circle around this floor. That board is called a tribulum. That's the name for it. And it's where we literally get the word tribulation. And what it does is it crushes the grain. So you can kind of see the connections here. Should be pretty easy. So who's threshing? The daughter of Zion. Well, can we, if we're going along the thought process of the daughter of Zion being the church, they're going to thresh. Notice horn of iron, hooves of bronze. If you go to Psalm 149 and you go to Joel and you read about the army of the Lord, you start to make some connections here. Go, wait a minute, is this what he's referring to? Kind of sounds like it. Because Psalm 149 describes some of the things that the army does in Joel. And it says this This, what does it say? This honor have all his saints. Who are the saints of God? Who are the saints of Jesus? The church. So there's some connections here. Now, a lot of people may not see it, but I'm just throwing it out there. So now let's read Micah 5 after coming, working that out. Let's read Micah 5 what he says. Now gather yourself in troops, O daughter of troops. Interesting. He has laid siege against us. They will strike the judge of Israel with a rod on the cheek. Who's the judge of Israel? Jesus. They're going to go after him. Are we supposed to gather together? Well, it does, in Joel, talks about the troop formations. Just saying. Verse 2, but you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though you are little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth are from old, from everlasting. That's Jesus Christ right there. Therefore, he shall give them up until the time that she who is in labor, listen, that she who is in labor has given birth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return to the children of Israel. Who's in labor? Israel. She's giving birth. But what is she giving birth? Revelation chapter 12, go read it. That's who that's referring to. What happens in there? The child is caught up in verse 5. Rapture. Micah 5:3. You're seeing the rapture. She hasn't given birth yet. The rapture is the giving birth. That's what Revelation chapter 12 is talking about. There you go, another connection. Real time, we're finding connections here, guys. Verse 4. And he shall stand and feed his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide. For now he shall be great to the ends of the earth. And this one, this is Jesus, shall be peace. His name is peace, Prince of Peace. Judgment on Israel's enemies. When the Assyrian comes into our land, there's your Antichrist. And when he treads in our palaces, then we will raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 princely men. Seven shepherds and 8 princely men. Very interesting. I wonder who that is. Verse 6. They shall waste with the sword the land of Assyria, and the land of Nimrod at its entrances. Now that doesn't timestamp it back at that time. It's just the land of Nimrod that still exists today. Thus he shall deliver us from the Assyrian. Notice they're making a differentiation between Nimrod and the Assyrian. A lot of people are like, the Antichrist is Nimrod. No, the Antichrist is not Nimrod. He's making a distinction between them. Nimrod and the Assyrian are 2 different people. Then he shall deliver us from the Assyrian when he comes into our land and when he treads within our borders. Then the remnant of Jacob, this is going to be the remnant that God's going to save, shall be in the midst of many peoples, like dew from the Lord, like showers on the grass, that tarry for no man, nor wait for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many peoples, like a lion among the beasts of the forest, like a young lion among flocks of sheep, who, if he passes through, both treads down and tears in pieces, and none can deliver. This kind of speech is coming right from the book of Revelation. It's also linking over to Zechariah and Ezekiel. Interesting. 9. Your hand shall be lifted against your adversaries, and all your enemies shall be cut off. And it shall be in that day, says the Lord, that I will cut off your horses from your midst and destroy your chariots. I will cut off the cities of your land and throw down all your strongholds. I will cut off sorceries from your hand, and you shall have no soothsayers. He's talking about what he's going to do to Israel. Your carved images I will also cut off, and your sacred pillars from your midst. You shall no more worship the work of your hands. I will pluck your wooden images from your midst. Thus I will destroy your cities, and I will execute vengeance in anger and fury on the nations that have not heard. Wow. Tribulation. So it just may be we're discovering some more links here, linking to who this army is that everybody attributes as being angels. Yet the description, as powerful as it is in Joel, and then you go read Psalm 149, then you can read stuff like this, you're like, I wonder if it's me. See, you have to look everywhere in the Bible to find these things. You have to go back and forth and identify other scriptures referring to this. Now, a lot of people don't understand this. That's why they don't go into these things. Because it doesn't make sense. You gotta slow down and read it and think about those other things. And it takes a great deal of the Lord opening us up to receive these things and to remember this, to recall these scriptures. That's the only way I can make the connections, because I have no training in this. I'm not smart enough to do this. I'm just reading it for what it says. That's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. And again, he's making the point. Look, I'm going to wipe y'all out. Because, like we read already, 2/3 of them are going to side with Satan. The other third is going to be the remnant. Y'all are going to get taken down. I'm going to deal with this. Righteous fury, anger, judgment, wrath. That's what the tribulation is. That's what's going to happen then. Very interesting. So he makes a clear differentiation between Jacob and Israel, two different entities. You go back all throughout the Old Testament, they're referred to as two different things, two different entities, two different groups. And this daughter of Zion is also referred to as something separate from both of them. Interesting. Interesting little details hidden in here that kind of start to help you understand a picture of what's going to happen. Because when he comes back at that last day, it is going to be mass chaos, and he's going to sweep across this earth. And the Bible says the first thing he does, touches down, everybody's tripping out. The first thing he does is he goes to Edom, and he deals with Edom. And he comes back covered in blood. But all the indicators are, why would we be coming back with him unless we're going to be there fighting with him? Now we go into this army. Very, very cool to read about this stuff and start to try to put some of the pieces together. Go, this is interesting. I wonder who this is referring to. Because if you can't find it linking to anybody else, you have to come to the realization this is a group all by itself. Who are they and where are they coming from? Now we're finding clues pointing to it. Very interesting. This is where reasonable deduction comes in. You've got to deduce what's going on here and what they're talking about. And then you go prove that with the original language, and you prove that with the text. It's just that easy. Are we going to make a few mistakes and get it not quite right? Yeah, that's what was intended, but it wasn't intended for us to figure out every single detail. After 1,000 years of study, you still ain't going to find all of it. It's just the way it is. But we can try. Guys, that was Micah 5. Lots there. This is a small book, but there's a lot in it. It is very powerful. Tomorrow we're in Micah 6. God pleads with Israel. This is going to be interesting too, because already in the first verse, mountains and hills, that's leadership. Already. So there'll be more little details to discover there. And my goal is not to explain everything to you guys. My goal is that it would inspire you guys to go and do your own studies in this. Take a look at some of these words. Go look up where else they appear in the Bible. You sit down with Google and start typing away. You'll be amazed at how much stuff you can find. But don't take somebody else's word for it. You look at it for yourself, and you'll be amazed at what you'll find. Somebody else already did that on the two witnesses. They went and looked up the two olive trees, and after a bunch of time researching, finally found where it explained who the two olive trees were. And then when you apply that to the two witnesses, you realize that's not two people, it's two groups of people. Remember what Daniel says about how many days the Gentiles will tread the outer court underfoot? That's a key to the part of the tribulation. It's right there in the scriptures. Been there this whole time. You just got to figure out who the Gentiles are that are doing it. Maybe, just maybe, he's talking about one group of the two witnesses. Just saying. I don't know. Just spitballing here because there's a lot of detail in this. But that's why it takes careful study. To look at it and come to... And if we discover some stuff that doesn't necessarily pertain to us, but we can't pull all the details out of it to fully understand it, that's okay. It's okay if we don't. We don't have to understand everything. A lot of that stuff has nothing to do with us and isn't going to pertain to us in any way. And it may just go right over our heads. And that's okay if it does that, because it doesn't matter if we understand it all. He's going to teach us all the things we missed. I'm looking forward to that day. He's going to teach us. All right, guys, that was Micah 5. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.